these grunts going?
Are you fucking kidding me?
They call it Halo.
Echo 419 to Cortana. Four hammers on station and ready for another pickup.
Alright, fellas. If you showed up expecting me to teach you how to aim straight and drive well, you're going to be disappointed. The Magnum and PP are always against you, and learning to wrangle them is only going to come with experience. What this guide is about is scripts, and timers, and what the hell am I doing on your second monitor? Class is starting. What this guide is about is understanding why we do what we do, so you don't soft lock and have to go back to POA. Once you leave the dropship, you're on a timer to get onto the cliff edge. If you make it to the cliff edge just outside this trigger, then the game will never detect that you've entered it and won't continue the part of the script that spawns enemies in your path to the first combat section. This means that as long as you get onto that cliff edge, you can take your time setting up this nade jump. Let's see how this plays out in real time. The Evade Covenant Patrol's objective indicates when the game begins checking for if you're inside that trigger. As for throwing the nade itself, it's really imprecise. You can do whatever you want. As long as you're bouncing it off this right wall, you're going to get a pretty nice landing for where the frag is. All of these nades are going to work just fine for what we're doing here. Start out by going straight forward, and as you get more comfortable with it, you can feel out where the collision is and how to cut the corner a little bit. It's not really worth saving that half second until you're quite a bit further in your progression. The reason this nade doesn't behave quite the same as it does on Classic is the 343 devs were on some shit when they designed this geometry here. It's very strange. This trigger here is what's going to start the first area fight. Just beyond that is this trigger here. If you cross this threshold too quickly, you're going to have a much harder time clearing the enemies in first area. Here's an example. You can see I'm going straight into the trigger here, and the elites are instantly going to swap to me. It's going to make it very difficult to kill them. It's almost an immediate death sentence. This time around, I'm going to stay behind the trigger. I can still shoot these grunts and such, so we can still make progress and fight the enemies. Because we stayed behind that trigger long enough, the enemies aren't going to instantly swap to you, and they're going to focus on the Marines more. This does double duty for us because those Marines have to die anyway, might as well let the Covenant do it, and it also keeps you a little bit safer. Once all of the Covenant are dead, we can start dealing with the other problems that we have to solve in this part of the level. That's right, it's time to talk about aggro. In combat, Marines care a lot less about friendly fire. Active kills, like shooting or melee, will net you 1 point per Marine. Passive kills, like grenades, are going to net you 0 points per Marine. Out of combat active kills are going to net 3 points per Marine, and out of combat passive kills will net 1 point per Marine. Once you're at 5 points or higher, they're going to become hostile.
What's wrong with you? That's it! You're dead!
One of our main goals in first area is to keep aggro below 5, so that we can end the mission with faster strats, allowing us to leave the rubble area earlier, and also using the Marines to aid us in the river clear. Allies are flagged as in combat about 6 seconds past the instant enemies are dead. You'll see in this clip, I can use that to get a quick pistol kill and stay under that 5-point limit. Damage to any Marine, living or dead, is going to reset this aggro countdown. On Legendary, it will take 90 seconds for 1 point of aggro to decay. On Easy, it will take 10 seconds. But why? Why are we killing all of our allies in the first place? Dialogue skips, of course. Once all of the enemies are dead, Johnson and some of the other Marines are going to want to talk to us. and that's going to delay this ship coming in. Until they begin talking to us, this ship is going to be delayed, so we want to get that going as soon as possible. Better yet, if they're already dead, it's going to immediately skip this line in the script. More precisely, all but one have to die. There are 4 Marines below and 2 crewmen up top. But there's something strange about these crewmen. We'll get to that a little bit later. In addition to the welcome dialogue skip, there are 3 more dialogue skips that we do by killing all of these Marines. The first one isn't as important because all it is clearing these enemies faster, but it is time save. The same goes for this second ship.
Look sharp! Covenant dropship on approach! I can use some help over here!
Moving on to the third ship, however, we cannot do dropskip if this ship has a dialogue sequence attached to it.
Uh-oh! Another bandit dropping in behind us! They're trying to flank us!
Even here, with the ship being instantly cleared, it's not enough for this ship to be despawned. Let's say you still have 2 Marines alive at this point and have just been bleeding time on the dialogues. It's still possible to get dropskip at this point, even after this ship starts its dialogue. But once that dialogue finishes and the ship starts coming down, you've started your timer, and you need to do everything else perfectly. Might be hard, but you can save it. Now let's talk about why this actually works the way it does. Here's the script for Wave 3. Take a look at the name of the object for the spirit. Now let's look at the script for 2 ships ahead. It reuses the same object, and it also deletes the same object. So what happens is, if we can make the earlier script complete fast enough, then it's going to delete the later script's ship. Let's see that in action. So here we see Wave 3's ship leaving. Wave 5's script is going to delete it by reusing the asset. And then, just as it's starting to come in, the Wave 3 script is going to delete it. Alright, let's talk about those sussy crewmen now. Let's take a look at a clear where I really just focus on making sure the dialogue skips happen. I'm not going to worry about the Covenant at all. I'm going to keep this fight going as long as I need to make sure that I don't get aggro, and like all of these subsequent dialogue skips that we're working on are fast. Okay, that's all the Marines taken care of. Now let's finish up the arrival combat and get the first ship coming in. What the hell? They're all dead. Every single one of them. So here are a couple of crewmen that I killed earlier for a dialogue skip, but it didn't work. And I'm kind of trying to figure out why. You notice anything a little bit strange? That's right, they're still holding their pistol. It turns out, if you headshot crewmen, they have a special behavior where they turn into kind of a zombie. What this does is it makes the script count them as alive, even if they're dead. So if you ever shoot a crewman in the head, consider them alive for the purposes of these dialogue skips. In this example here, I've headshot both crewmen, so the script believes that there are 2 alive still, and it's going to continue with the dialogue sequence. The moral of the story, don't headshot crewmen. Let's get into the finer points of dropskip and how to clear each ship effectively. No, just kidding. Just practice, look at references, and you can get it pretty quickly. This guide isn't going to go over that. Basically, all you do is
Just look at the spot.
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 And before you know it, you're a dropskip master. Here's a quick overview of what we're going to be doing in second area. We're going to pick up the sniper, and then we're going to head straight to Cliff, clear all the Marines there, move on towards Rubble, and then after we've killed everything there, we move on to River, and that's where we're going to clear all of our enemies and end the level. On our way into Cliff, we're going to be jumping out of our hog with a little fling. Just make sure that you're holding space as you exit the vehicle. And practice this quite a bit. It's a little finicky, but there's a nice checkpoint just before it. You have to walk into this trigger at the bottom of the ramp to progress the script. Do your best not to shoot Marines to death. Make sure you nade as many as you can so you don't get any aggro points. And we're done. Let's head out. As you're rounding the corner, throw this nade on the ceiling. A good time jump. Over the pipe. And into the hog. And away we go. Not even close. Now we're making a move on over to Rubble. Just kidding, don't do that, that's ridiculous. Just come outside, jump on this ledge, over onto the pipe, and into the Warthog. You can see even without the nade, this is kind of sketchy, so like, yeah, don't do that. Moving into Rubble, our objective here is to kill the 3 Marines up top, but we can't shoot them until they're in combat, so wait until they... There it is. Now we need to drive into this trigger before leaving. And we're off to the final area. We're gonna let the Covenant deal with the rest of the Marines that are alive here. I should note that if you have aggro at this point, those Marines are gonna be superhumans. They might survive long enough to get frozen. Right here is where the combat in Rubble is going to freeze, so if your Marines are not dead yet, they're going to be frozen there and you will have to come back and unfreeze them. There can also be a needler or something stuck in the air that also freezes combat to keep you in an unsafe state. Here's how to tell if you need to go back to Rubble. There's a trigger here that starts a voice line.
There's some Marines hiding in the hills above the structure.
If you don't hear that, instantly turn around and go back to load Rubble. On your way, you can decide if you're going to keep the run because this is a very sad moment.
There's some Marines.
If it was only frozen because of a projectile, then you can just turn around and go back now. But if you need to clean up additional Marines, you have to push in and deal with them.
Structure.
We're finally on to the final clear. We're almost there, fellas. In this area, there are 3 grunts, 5 jackals, and 5 elites. Let's play some Where's Waldo to find them all. Try to splatter 1 or 2 jackals on the way and speed up the kill. Once we pass this trigger, the Marines are going to start wanting to talk to us. Once they finish talking, we're on a quota now. Once 7 of these enemies have died, the final dropship will be coming in. There it is. Now all of the enemies have been scripted to rush you. Kill them quickly and let's move on to the ship. And that's it, we're done. You're now ready to move on to the next level. It's going to be some of the best combat you see in any Halo game. Look forward to seeing you there.